Now, I would imagine if you came from Iran.
This is so insane to me. Notice how they just say it so much that it's now become the truth. That's what I'm so frustrated by. It's day 2, man. It's day 2. I'm already losing my mind. Is the interview live already? It's crazy. I watch Fox News Live so much that the first thing that pops up when I type live in my
war going on. But with all that being said, I think it's bigger. It's bigger than if it were more traditional.
Only the second time in history somebody didn't have consecutive terms.
Yeah. Well, they say it's historically bigger. I don't know about that. But I can say it showed us a couple of things. It showed us that the radical left, their philosophies and policies are horrible. They don't work. You look at crime, you look at what's gone on at the border.
Guys, I think this guy's a right-winger.
I mean, the crime that's going to happen, but I think we got there just in the nick of time. But we still have you covered better than anybody. We have terrorists in our country by the thousands. We have murderers in our country by the tens of thousands. We have numbers that came out, 11,000 people that murdered are now free and walking around in our country. And of them, I think 48%, they say, killed more than one person, and they're walking around. They came out of jails from other countries. And, people, they've emptied their jails. I would, if I were the president or prime minister or something of another country, I'd empty my jails right into America, into the United States. Why not? And many of them did it. If you look at Venezuela, their crime rate is down now 78%. Because they took their street gangs and they moved them into the United States. And you're seeing that in Colorado and Los Angeles and other places. And we're going to take care of it.
So did Biden really say to you when you came up to the front of the White House, welcome home?
No, did somebody say that?
I read it somewhere.
I don't know. Maybe he did. I really don't know.
So you left him a letter. It was funny with Peter Doocy, and Peter said, "Oh, Mr. President, did Joe Biden leave you a letter?" He did leave you a letter.
He did.
And you had left him one, but you've never disclosed either one of them.
Well, a lot of people
now would be a great time.
You know, it was interesting. A lot of people thought it was sort of like a setup with Peter Doocy and myself, and I have a lot of respect for Peter. But he just asked me a question about the letter. And then I remember that, it's like a custom, you leave it right in the drawer of that beautiful desk right alongside of us. And so I opened it up, and I actually gave the letter to Peter.
And did he got to read it?
I guess. I haven't.
You don't know if he read it?
I just sent it to him a little while ago.
All right, before we get into, there's so much substance. You are inheriting a lot of problems, a lot of things that actually scare me. Yeah. And I want to get to all of that, but I will get to all of that.
All solvable problems, Tom.
I agree.
They're all solvable.
Not easy.
With time, effort, money, unfortunately, but they're all solvable problems. We can get our country back. But if we didn't win this race, I really believe our country would have been lost forever.
Were there moments, I mean, when you think of what they threw at you, and I know you signed this declaration about no more weaponization, and we know that the preemptive pardons came up on Joe's way out, but you were facing a civil trial, a criminal trial, conviction, sentencing, Jack Smith, D.C., Florida, Fonnie Willis. I mean, you fought through all of that to get back right here in this office. What people don't know is over there's a little red button you push. You scare people. People think it's the nuclear button, but it's really,
something else.
It's you use it for a different purpose. But the question I have was, at any point, did you doubt you would be back here?
So it's a great question. It's something I don't think about. I never really thought about it. I don't think about, gee, will I be back? I just do it. I get it done. I get things done. I'm good at getting things done, and I set my mind to it. As you know, we had a great election in 2016. I had a much better election in 2020. And if I didn't have that election, I wouldn't have run. If I thought that I didn't get the number of votes, and it was reported that I got almost 75 million votes, and that was their numbers. That wasn't the numbers. That was their numbers. That was more than anybody has gotten in history, any sitting president had ever gotten. And you lost. Had I gotten like 50 million, or 40 million, or 60 million, I would never have run. But that was like a poll. So, but I had a different attitude. Too big to rig.
Poll came out just in the last 24 hours by Insider Advantage. That's Matt Towery. He nailed 2016, 2020,
Right.
and 2024. Great pollster, as you know.
Right.
And he gave you a 56% approval rating. He also said of Congress, and I had a town hall with members of Congress last night, that 70%
No, the
of
Diet Coke button
respondents
is not a joke.
want Congress to unite behind your agenda.
I watched that show. It was a great show, and you had some great people in the background.
Yeah.
I know every one of them, and they're really patriots. I just saw the love. You know, as the speaker, who was doing a terrific job, the speaker is answering questions, and I saw the acknowledgement and the love they had. And those are tough people behind him. You know, these are not easy people.
There are others that are tougher.
I said, well, I don't know. This is a tough group if they want to be. They're not, nobody much tougher.
Does Trump not know
But
his
they're
BDS?
very
I know, we should
unified. I think
cancel
they're
him.
going to do a great job.
But they have a small majority. You went through over 200 since we've got here, and we have breaking news today that we'll get to in a minute, and especially as it relates to the border and some other issues. But you're going to need to do some of these things legislatively. You will probably play the largest role in uniting them both
Why
in
is
the
he
House
looking
and
at him
Senate.
like that? Because they have sex chatter. They literally, like, this isn't even homophobia. This is just, like, straight up, like, the truth in the Oval Office.
I like the concept of the one bill. I guess I said one big beautiful, and that's what everyone faced. Actually, it's sort of a nice sound to it. But I do like that concept. It could be something else. It could be a smaller bill and a big bill.
Right.
But as long as we get to the right answer. Now, I will say that Los Angeles has changed everything because a lot of money is going to be necessary for Los Angeles. And a lot of people on the other side want that to happen. And
North
they want
Carolina,
it to happen
too.
fast. Well, they don't care about North Carolina. The Democrats don't care about North Carolina. What they've done with FEMA is so bad. FEMA is a whole other discussion.
Do I think Trump is
Because
redeemable?
all it does is
No.
complicate everything. FEMA has not done their job for the last 4 years. You know, I had FEMA working really well. We had hurricanes in Florida. We had Alabama tornadoes. But unless you have certain types of leadership, it gets in the way. And FEMA is going to be a whole big discussion very shortly because I'd rather see the states take care of their own problems. If they have a tornado someplace and let that state. Oklahoma is very competent. I love Oklahoma. 77 out of 77 districts. And that's never been done before. I did it 3 times. I mean, think of it, 3 times. Never been done. Ronald Reagan had the record, 56 out of 77. I got 77 out of 77. So you have to love a place like that. I love Oklahoma. But you know what? If they get hit with a tornado or something, let Oklahoma fix it. You don't need. And then the federal government can help them out with the money. The FEMA is getting in the way of everything. And the Democrats actually use FEMA not to help North Carolina.
It makes no sense.
So I'm stopping on Friday. I'm stopping in North Carolina, first stop, because those people were treated very badly by Democrats. And I'm stopping there. We're going to get that thing straightened out because they're still suffering from a hurricane from months ago. And then I'm going to go to California.
Will you meet with Gavin?
I don't know. I haven't even thought about it. Look, Gavin's got one thing he can do. He can release the water that comes from the north. There is massive amounts of water, rainwater and mountain water that comes due with the snow, comes down as it melts. There's so much water, they're releasing it into the Pacific Ocean. And I told him, it's a political thing for the Democrats. I don't know.
I played the tape. You said it to him in front of him in 2018.
I said it to him in front of the media and everything else, and nobody talks about it. The media never picks it up. You put it out. I was so happy to see that tape because some people said, is that possible? They have water coming down from the Pacific Northwest, which has a lot of water. So much water that they'd have to let some of it go at some point. They don't need reservoirs. They don't need any. They're spending all this money on these reservoirs, and they're fake reservoirs. You know,
But the
concrete.
reservoirs were empty. The hydrants didn't work, and they're not practicing the science of forestry, which
Their
is
sprinklers didn't work in the homes because they had no water. Think of it. We have sprinklers. think of it with no water. They didn't have any water. The
didn't know you
fire
had
hydrants,
sprinklers in
believe it, hard to believe. The place has sprinklers, it's nice. But you don't want to lose this office. By the way, how do you like it?
Well, I'm glad. It's great to be back. I'm not going to lie.
I've had the biggest people in the world come here.
Yeah.
And they come into the Oval Office, and they just look, and they want time to look. They're looking around. George
amazing.
Washington, Abe, Honest Abe.
One day maybe we can do a tour. We had a conversation, and maybe I shouldn't disclose this, but I will. And it was after the 2020 election. And you asked me a question, and we've known each other for 30 years, so we have a friendship and we have a professional relationship. And the question you asked me, maybe in the end it will be better that if I came back in 4 years. And we talked about history. After World War II, Winston Churchill was thrown out, but they brought him back. Grover Cleveland is the only other American president that did not serve consecutive terms. And my answer to you was, I thought it would be bigger if you came back.
It's turning out to be bigger. And I think one thing is happening is people are learning that they can't govern and that their policies are terrible. I mean, they don't want to see a woman get pummeled by a man in a boxing ring.
No.
They don't want to see men in women's sports in other ways. They don't want to see them, and they don't want to have transgender for everyone. They don't want a child leave home as a boy and come back 2 days later as a girl. A parent doesn't want to see that. And there are states where that can happen.
Oh.
They don't want to see taxes go through the roof. Like, this is the only group of people they want to raise your taxes. They say, we want to raise your taxes. You know, if they don't work with us on the Trump tax cuts extending, that would mean it would go back to the taxes. We got the largest tax cut in history. That would mean the taxes would go up more than any tax hike in the history of our country. And normally you'd say, that's got to be the easiest negotiation in history, because if they did that, how could they ever win an election? But they'll fight us on that. They fight us on things. It's incredible.
Here, I ran into...
They don't use common sense. In my opinion, the Democrats don't use common sense.
I think common sense won the day in the election.
Yeah, but you know the amazing thing? I'm watching now. Now it's time, and, a few months have passed, and the election's over, and you see what happened, and it was a rout. I won all 7 swing states, and we won by millions of votes, the popular vote, millions. And nobody can even believe some of the numbers. And how about with African Americans, with Hispanics, with everything, how well we did? Nobody can believe the numbers. How about with youth? I won youth by 36 points. Now, maybe that's because I went on TikTok. I don't know. But I'm starting to have a very warm spot.
TikTok is going to be sold, right?
I think TikTok's going to maybe stay around.
People like
I'll tell you, people want to buy it. People want to buy it.
But those that say they know say it's a spying app for the communist Chinese.
But you can say that about everything made in China. Look, we have our telephones made in China for the most part. We have so many things made in China. So why don't they mention that? The interesting thing with TikTok, though, is you're dealing with a lot of young people. So
they love it.
Is it that important for China to be spying on young people, on young kids watching crazy videos and things?
I don't want China spying on anybody.
No, but they make your telephones, and they make your computers, and they make a lot of other things. Isn't that a bigger threat?
I'm sure that'll be part of your discussions with President Xi, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. Let me go to the border. We do have breaking news today. I ran into Tom Homan as I was walking in today. Right. And so far, 308 total arrests, 296 detainees, and the first deployment of military assets to the U.S. border. The deployment includes active duty troops in the National Guard. Right. And here's my biggest fear and concern beyond the Iranian assassination squads is we now know 14 million. We don't know how many gotaways. We don't know the total number. But we have known terrorists in our country. We have known murderers. We have violent criminals, cartel members, gang members. Now, I would imagine if you came from Iran.
This is so insane to me that they just genuinely say that the Democratic government deliberately and knowingly, and the law enforcement agencies deliberately and knowingly brought these people into the country.
An attack on our homeland.
It's such a psychotic take. but it's actually extra crazy that we don't even like think that's a weird thing that they're saying. Because notice how they just say it so much that it's now become the truth. That's what I'm so frustrated by. Where like, it's just completely insane. Under normal circumstances, when someone says something like that, you're supposed to go, what? You need to get lithium pronto, dog. What are you saying?
For years, and you actually make one
now it's
statement
just
before you
the
say
norm.
that. You say 100% certain.
I do.
That's a pretty big statement.
And then I say, I pray to God I'm wrong.
Yeah, I hope you're wrong too. And I won't comment, but I tend to agree with you. It depends. We'll see what happens. Look, we have a lot of great people right now, a lot of great people on this situation. This was a gross miscarriage of common sense to allow people to come in. And I believe the number is 21 million people, and a large percentage of them are criminals all over the world. This is not just South America. This isn't, we talk Venezuela, that's a big abuser, but these are countries from
Iran,
the
Syria?
Congo, countries that you don't even think of. The Congo has emptied their prisons out into the United States. We're not thinking about the Congo. We're thinking about South America. It's much more than South America. But prisons from all over the world have been emptied out into our country by Biden, allowing it to happen. I don't even know if he knew what the hell was going on, but who would want this? I always say to people, you always like to understand, like in a business here, you want to understand the other side. Why do they want something, et cetera, and you figure it out. And there's usually an answer, almost always. I don't understand, why does somebody want open borders where, and they say the vote, okay, but I did well with the Hispanic vote, if you're looking at Hispanic. They say they do it because they want to think they're going to stay in power, it's going to be better for Democrats. I don't really believe that. Besides that, they cheat so much, they don't have to do that. They cheat so well, they're very good at cheating. The only thing they're good at really is cheating. But here's the thing I ask. Why would somebody say that open borders are good, where jails and mental institutions from other countries and gang members right off the streets of the toughest cities in the world are being brought to the United States of America and emptied out into our country? Why would anybody that even likes, you don't have to love our country, you have to like it. Why would anybody that likes our country, the Democrats, allow that to happen? And even now, I watch them on television, they're trying to justify it.
Again, false premise that is now completely just seen as the truth, that migrants are coming in with hatred for this country. Why the would they come here, dude?
Well, it's not stupid. You're either stupid or you hate the country.
Migrants that are coming in that hate this country, and the Democrats are letting them in, and they must also hate the country because they're letting in the people that hate this country into the country on purpose. And it's like, it's just so insane. It's such an insane thing. Like the notion that like all these people that are coming into America actually despise America. As someone who came to America, let me tell you, okay, I learned the cold, hard truth about America after I came here. I came here because I wanted to come here, and I was very fortunate, okay? I come from a relatively affluent background, and it was still a difficult thing to just like leave your family and your friends behind or whatever. But like these people are leaving so much else behind, and they're not coming in here with like a warm reception. Like I came here for college. I promise you those people don't hate America, okay? And neither did I when I first came here. I wanted to live here really bad. And I still want to live here, as a matter of fact. But the reality of the matter is, I definitely learned all of the problems that modern American society had fairly quickly, as a matter of fact. And also, that is precisely the reason why undocumented migrants, for that, and also because they want to avoid any sort of legal scrutiny whatsoever, are not responsible for a greater share of the crimes per capita than natural-born U.S. citizens. You understand? New immigrants like America more than I do, and I was born here. Yeah. You always say conservatives have their lore down pat. The lore is repeated so much, their believers, to their believers, that everyone lives and breathes it like it's oxygen. Yeah. It's just crazy that, like, it just sucks that you could just, like, repeat something that's a falsehood over and over again, and as long as there's no, like, active counter messaging against it, people will just believe it, and it becomes the truth, even if it's just completely untrue. And no matter how much evidence is presented against it by the likes of someone like myself or maybe some other places like It just doesn't matter. People are like, nah, I'm invested in the narrative, and the narrative has become the truth for me. It truly sucks. It's just, I don't know. Wasn't that Hitler's strategy? I mean, a lot of politicians do this. It's not just Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler did not invent the concept of lying as a political figure. But yes, specifically as it pertains to lying about certain minority groups being responsible for crimes and all of the evils of society, yes, that is very Hitlerian. Yeah. Germany says Hitler was a communist. Yeah, no, they don't. That's the AfD that says that. And even they don't say communist, they say socialist. Wasn't there something we were going to watch it live at 6, or was that for another day? We're watching it right now. It's just the ad break. Which, by the way, reminds me that you can subscribe for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Wait, you're running ads again now? I need to know if debate operations can resume. No, I'm not running ads again. Wow, noticing no ads in the Trump era? Okay, I'm a Republican now. That's right. No ads in the Trump era. All right, let's get back to it.
They're aiding
Trump
and
is back.
abetting in the law breaking. Okay, they're going to get federal funds.
Yeah. We're trying to get rid of them. We're trying to end them, and a lot of the people in those communities don't want them. You know, California is a big
Would you
example.
cut off their money?
I might have to do that. Sometimes that's the only thing you can do. Look, California is a great example of it. If you actually poll the people, they don't want sanctuary cities, but Gavin Newsom does, and these radical left politicians do. And, you know, if you asked them why, they couldn't even. I watched Gavin Newsom try to answer that question. He was unable to even answer. He looked like an idiot. He was unable to answer. I asked him one other question. Why is it that you don't want millions of gallons of water a day pouring throughout California? You know, the farmland in California is, they say, the equivalent of Iowa, great land, but it's got no water. And you sit there, and it's literally, you can see it burning. It's on flame.
Sure.
All they need is water in that big farmland. And I ask them, why? How is it possible that you're not allowing this water? They divert it out to the Pacific Ocean, where it drops into the ocean. And you know what it's like? It's like nothing. To the Pacific Ocean, it's like 2 glasses of water. It's nothing. Millions of gallons of water is diverted way up north in California into the Pacific Ocean. That water, you know, they have the pipes in it. It's half pipes. You see them all the time, half pipes. People live in those half pipes now. You know, they have homeless living in those half pipes. But this is water that millions of gallons of water a week and a day in some cases, you know, depending on the flow. So much water they wouldn't know what to do with it. Your sprinklers would be filled. They can even, remember when I took criticism because I said you have to manage your forests? The head of a country that lives in forests, a number of them actually, Finland told me this, Austria told me this, head of Austria, head of Finland. And it was beautiful the way they expressed it. They said, we live in a forest. We are a forest nation. That's beautiful, isn't it, to say that? We have trees that are the most magnificent in the world, far more beautiful than what they have in California, and much more flammable. Mm-hmm. He said, we don't have forest fires. We manage our forests.
You can get a degree in forestry.
Well, they'll do cuts, yeah. Can you imagine? But you don't need much. You have to clean the floors of the forest. You know, when they had forests, I go to see some of the sites. I watched in California. They use billions of dollars of money. And they just said, you know, and look at what happened. Los Angeles, that's like a nuclear weapon went off, what's happened to Los Angeles. And, you know, that thing went for 4 or 5 days. Nobody was even fighting it because they didn't have any water. Their fire departments aren't funded properly. And the firefighters were brave as hell. They were fighting without water. I mean, they turn on a fire hydrant, there's no water that comes out, and they're sitting, and the fires are rushing at them at 30, 40 miles an hour. Those firefighters were brave. What happened to that state is incredible. And then you listen to, I remember when Ron DeSantis and Gavin Newsom were debating on your show. Yeah. And Newsom's talking like, everything's great. Oh, everything's great, just great, just great. More people left California this year than ever have left in history before the fire. But look at it. Take a look. And you know, the amazing thing, these are wealthy people. Many wealthy people lost their homes. I saw somebody on television, one of the wealthiest people, one of the most powerful people in the country, being interviewed as though he were a vagrant. His shirt was, and you have to know him, He's a mean, horrible human being. He's a tough guy, very tough guy, a horrible person.
Yeah.
But he's very rich. And
He's
very,
rich, but he's a horrible person.
No, he's a horrible human being. I know you have rich people that are
I
very
agree.
nice, but this guy's a terrible person. So I say, that's so-and-so. I said to Melania, I said, look at it. They were interviewing him as a guy that lost his house. He said, they took my house away. And he's literally in his underwear and his T-shirt. It looked like he just got out of the bedroom. And I say, that's one of the wealthiest guys in the country. Look at this guy. Take a look at him. Someday I'll tell you the name, maybe after the interview.
Okay.
But you won't even believe it. But he was on television as somebody that, and he was complaining they wouldn't let him go to his house, which was on fire. They wouldn't let him go because, you know, they don't want him to die. You know, some of the wealthiest, most powerful people lost their homes. And it looked like our country was helpless. This fire was just raging, and then it would catch to another area, another area, another area. There was nothing. It took a week and a half, and I've never seen anything like it. We look so weak.
Will you give, obviously Americans want to help other Americans in need, okay?
Yeah.
Fair enough, we do that. We got to help the people in North Carolina. They've been suffering.
Well, you know,
We agree.
that's what I want to do. That's why I'm stopping there first.
You're going to stop in
I'm
California.
stopping in North
Should the
Carolina
money be
first.
contingent on them practicing the science of forestry?
Well, I think this. I'm going to put a statement out today, I think, and maybe it's already written. I said, I don't think we should give California anything until they let water flow down into their...
From the north to the south.
This is a political thing. I don't know what it is. You know, they talk about the Delta smelt. It's a little tiny fish like this.
I went out...
They say it's an endangered species. Well, how is it endangered? No wonder it's endangered. It's not getting any water. How do you... If you have a fish and you're stopping the water, isn't that going to hurt the fish? You
I
know?
did a show in 2009 from the San Joaquin Valley, Devin Nunes' district.
Right.
And they wouldn't give thousands of acres of farmland water to protect that.
By the way, you see that now. I
It's
drove
crazy.
up the highway.
The
I was
Delta
with
smelt.
Devin Nunes, another Republican congressman, and I looked at these vast areas of land, and it looked like it was just burning. It was dark. It was dry. And then there'd be a little patch, little tiny patch of green, beautiful green. And I said, why? How come all this land has these little patches? They said, that's all that we're allowed to farm because we have no water. I said, are you having a drought? No. They've turned off the water. They turned off the spigot from up north in order to protect the Delta smelt.
Let me move on to the
And by the way, I don't really believe it's the Delta smelt because nobody could do that. It's not endangered either. They have it in other locations, et cetera, et cetera.
They're doing seemingly everything they could do, like New York is in many ways, to chase people away.
No, but could you imagine today?
It's crazy.
When people, and the press doesn't like, when I talk about the water that they're turning into the Pacific, the press never wants to put it on. The fake news. They don't want to put it on, Sean.
You do realize that you have permanently tattooed into the forehead of legacy media the term fake news. You do realize they spent 9 years, 9 years attacking you from the moment you came down that escalator, and they didn't stop. And here's the interesting part to me, is that all of the attacks, all the weaponization, all the FISA warrants, all the Russia, and we can go on, all the various venues, the J6 committee, which kept out a lot of pertinent
And
information.
how about the J6 committee? I call it the unselect. You know, they say the select.
But they didn't win.
No. What they did was criminal. That's why they got pardoned.
No, I'm saying
they deleted and destroyed all of the information that they collected
Why else
over
would they
2
need
years.
a pardon?
And you know
Hannity
why?
tries to
Because it
keep the
proved I was
conversation
right.
on the rails
All
so
of that
hard, and
information
Trump
was
is just like
deleted and
not.
destroyed.
He's not even remotely
They
having
deleted
it.
all of the information having to do with the 10,000 soldiers that I offered to Nancy Pelosi, and she's now
Hannity
on
always
tape
is like,
admitting
Mr.
it.
President,
I
please,
have
sir,
4
let's
of the
get
5
back
people
on
on
track.
tape, and
Please,
General
I
Miller
beg
was
of
the
you. And he's
fifth
like,
and
no,
right.
you,
All
dude.
saying that you authorized it in the days leading up. The Capitol Police Chief asked for the guard, was begging for the guard. Muriel Bowser.
How are we still talking about January 6th? Like, liberals talking about January 6th is annoying, but at least they're on the right side of being like, look at how insane it is that the former president tried to do an insurrection. When Republicans talk about January 6th, I unironically become the most libbed up person on the planet because I'm like, dude, you did it. And you're like, You're not even bragging about doing it, even though you did it, got away with it cleanly, and then released everyone that, you know, was arrested for doing some of the more heinous stuff. And you're still like talking about how Nancy Pelosi did January 6th, actually.
Than any person in the history of Congress. She lost by a number that nobody has ever lost.
Like the
by.
Republican
You know why?
January
'Cause
6th position
usually
is
when you
so
have a
insane.
poll,
It's
you're
done
down
by
like 40 or
Antifa. It's
50
done by
points.
Nancy Pelosi.
You're
It's done
smart
by
enough to drop
my
out.
most loyal
She
servants,
shouldn't
and
have
that
dropped out.
therefore
She
they
wouldn't
must
have
be
that moniker.
released.
Before I go to
It
the
wasn't
economy
actually an
and foreign
insurrection, but if
policy,
it was,
but
it was done by
as long as you brought
Antifa
up
and
this
the
topic.
FBI, even though the
Joe
FBI was under
Biden,
my control at the time
Chuck
because I was a
Schumer,
president.
Adam Schiff,
And also
who
Nancy
got a
Pelosi
preemptive
personally
pardon.
called off the
All these
National
people
Guard,
got pardoned.
knowing full well how
Anthony
Antifa
Fauci,
would operate, but it's also
did he
my
know
fans
that
because I
NIH
released them
money
from
through the
prison.
Eco
It doesn't
Health
make
Alliance was
sense.
funding the Wuhan virology lab. There seems to be text and messages and emails that went back and forth. You talk about the unselect committee, as you call it, the January 6th committee. They had a predetermined outcome. General Milley, all these people, the Biden family members. Joe Biden ran and said he would never do preemptive pardons. It was an issue that came up when you were leaving your first time.
He thought, he heard that I was going to do it. I didn't want to do it. I was given the option. They said, sir, would you like to pardon everybody, including yourself? I said, I'm not going to pardon anybody. We didn't do anything wrong. And we had people that suffered. They're incredible patriots. We had people that suffered. You had Bannon put in jail. You had Peter Navarro put in jail. You had people that suffered. And far worse than that, they've lost their fortunes. They've lost their whatever, their nest egg, paying it to lawyers. And those people, and people said, and they wouldn't have even taken, most of those people, they wouldn't have even taken a pardon. This guy went around giving everybody pardons. And you know, the funny thing, maybe the sad thing, is he didn't give himself a pardon. And if you look at it, it all had to do with him. I mean, the money went to him.
Should Congress investigate that?
Well, I don't know. It's, you know,
You ordered the DOJ.
I've always been, look, he didn't give himself a pardon. And he didn't give some other people a pardon that needed it. And I heard Schiff went to him and just begged him for a pardon because Schiff is a crook. Yeah. Schiff is a crooked guy. He's a crooked politician. He made up the story about Russia, Russia, Russia. He totally made it up. You know, he's a storyteller. And then after he made it up, they found out that there was a tape of the conversation made by, you know, I guess, the State Department. I don't know. When you make calls, they make tapes sometimes, not all the time.
He was the one talking to the Russians.
So he, in the meantime, made up the conversation, totally made it up about quid pro quo. There was no quid pro quo, just there was a perfect call.
It's quid pro Joe.
Tim Scott was the first one to come. He read it. He said, this is a perfect call. What are
No,
you doing?
that's crazy, man. Still talking about this, bro. This is crazy. Oh my God. The egg prices, man. Talk about the egg prices. What the happened to the egg prices, dog? I thought you were going to lower the egg prices.
He went to Biden and he demanded a pardon because he thought he did something. He knew he did something.
Benny Thompson won the chairman of that committee.
Benny Thompson destroyed.
Yeah, someone also pointed this out in the chat, but like anytime I see this doddering old fool ramble about phone conversations that he had that caused him to be impeached, I'm reminded that the Democratic Party lost to him. And I can never forgive them for this. Like the Democrats lost to that. Okay, just remind yourself every time you hear this old man ramble about nonsensical bullshit, remind yourself that the Democratic Party lost to that guy not once, but twice. Okay, not once, but twice. And the second time was after he literally tried to do an insurrection. Oh my God. There is perhaps no greater damning indicator of the demise of liberalism at the global stage than that. There's nothing. You cannot, if you were to take liberalism out back and put a bullet in the back of its head, it would look like this, okay? It's so crazy. It's so crazy. And worst of all, they're still trying to be like leftists didn't vote hard enough or whatever they're saying. And it's like, It's day two, man. It's day two. I'm already losing my mind. It's day two. And holy crap, it's so bad. It's just so bad. Oh, I saw this, by the way. I saw this. Inside former VP Kamala Harris marriage turmoil as Doug Emhoff scandals are blamed for losing the presidency. As a Doug head and as a obvious hater of women and a participator of misogynoir, I am Doug's most loyal soldier, okay? Put me in a missile and launch me at the suburbs, Doug. I am your Fedayeen, okay? I am a Salafist who reads only from the book of Doug. How dare she? How dare she? That's crazy. Doug just wanted to be gay, okay? He just wanted to be gay, but no, the Democratic Party had to force his gay ass to go and do a phony marriage with Kamala Harris, okay? They ruined this man's life. They ruined this man's life. But now President Donald Trump has been sworn into office for sore loser Harris. It is now all about the blame game, and her target is flipped to her deadweight husband as she weighs it. Wait, what? This is crazy. One source exclusively told Daily Mail there's plenty of blame to go around as far as Kamala's concerned. I don't believe this. This is an insane thing to say. Doug did Kamala no favors during the election. Frankly, he looked like a hypocritical ass after the bombshells that he got his child's nanny pregnant while married to his first wife and assaulted his ex-girlfriend on the heels of his I am woman crusade. What? Was that even a thing that Doug did? Like, what? Dog, this had no motion. No one who wrote this article, someone who is just like on. Did Doug do this stuff? And even if he did do this stuff, which I don't know if he did this stuff or not, but even if he did, I had no clue. And I'm an active Doug head. So I don't think this actually made headlines at all. Like, guys, one thing that you need to understand here. I'm not saying that what this is untrue. This statement in and of itself is untrue. But what I will say is that if true, these statements, the power that this had on Kamala Harris's campaign is greatly overstated. Okay? Greatly overstated. It's ridiculous. I didn't even know about this. Like this. Did any of you know this? So obviously it had no impact on the election. That's my point. Okay. All jokes aside, Doug is so much a side character, so much of an NPC that apparently he was a monster and virtually no one cared to check because I had no idea that this was the case. And if I didn't know that this was the case, I'm certain most people didn't know that this was even remotely important, let alone consequential for the election. Milkshake Doug. Read my history. Lamau, someone who's friends with LA, it definitely made the rounds. And the story is true. It was her teacher. Damn, let's get Ella Emhoff on the show. I'm not supposed to talk about this. Get Ella on the show. Get Ella on the show. All right,
I've
here's
seen
Trump.
is about people that were convicted or were involved in incidents where they were violent with police. Why did they get a pardon?
Number of reasons. Number one, they were in there for 3.5 years, a long time.
Right.
And in many solitary confinement, treated like nobody's ever.
Bro, you know what's funny? I know why his ass is tweeting this. I'm sorry. A lot of people said this as well, but I know why his ass is tweeting this. Okay. 336,000 likes. Seething.
This should not have happened. And the other thing is this, some of those people with the police, true, but they were very minor incidents, okay?
Wait, first of all, people saying you're being parasocial or whatever, I know for a fact, okay, on background, can't reveal my sources, but I know that he knows who I am. And it is because of the Grimes collab. I know that he knows exactly who I am because of the Grimes collab.
They had to be collected.
Make no mistake.
And then they go on television and act holier than thou about this one or that one. You had 1,500 people that suffered. That's a lot of people. You know, they were looking for new people 2 weeks ago. They were looking, wait a minute, they were looking
More
to
people.
charge new people. They have a woman who's 76 years old that they said made a statement that was a little bit out of line years after the fact. This was a political hoax. And you know what? Those people, and I'm not saying in every single case, but there was a lot of patriotism with those people, a lot of patriotism. You know, they did a recording, and you know, they asked me if I'd do the voiceover, and I did.
Yeah.
Do you know it was the #1 selling, whatever you call it nowadays, album, whatever, song,
CD?
whatever you
I don't
call it. You
remember.
don't know, it changes every year, right? But it was the #1 selling song, #1 on Billboard, #1 on everything for so long. People get it. They wanted to see those people
American
released.
people were aware. You told them what you would do. Joe
Well, they
Biden.
He's talking about the January 6th choir chat. Yes, it's that stupid. Yes, this is the president of the United States of America. Yes, the Democratic Party lost to this man, not once, but twice.
Voted
okay?
for me, and I won in a landslide. And that was only one of the many
Joe
reasons.
said he would not do preemptive pardons back in 2020. Chuck Schumer said it. Schiff said it. They all said it. The media said it.
The precedent that he set on pardons is amazing. That's a much bigger story, but people don't like talking about it. He pardoned everybody, but he didn't pardon himself. And remember this, those people that he pardoned are now mandated, because they got a pardon, to testify, and they can't take the fifth.
Should Congress investigate that?
I think we'll let Congress decide.
Would you want the Attorney General to investigate it?
You know, I was always against that with presidents and Hillary Clinton. I could have had Hillary Clinton, a big number done on her.
Have you changed your mind?
And I didn't want to. Well, I went through 4 years of hell by this scum that we had to deal with. I went through 4 years of hell. I spent millions of dollars in legal fees, and I won. But I did it the hard way. It's really hard to say that they shouldn't have to go through it also. It is very hard to say that. Joe Biden, remember this, Joe Biden got very bad advice because, like he has in everything.
Hunter's laptop.
He got bad advice on Ukraine. He got bad advice that war should have never started. He got bad advice on Israel. He got bad advice on the way he got out of Afghanistan. We should have gotten out with strength and dignity, not like a bunch of losers. Joe Biden has very bad advisors. Somebody advised Joe Biden to give pardons to everybody but him. They wanted to take care of. Yeah, but Sean, they wanted to. I don't care.
They're yelling at me.
This is more important because right now the economy is going to do great.
I want to know about the
I'm
economy.
here, so the economy. But you have to understand, he had bad advisors on almost everything. It's like in the old days when the Secretary of State said he never made a correct decision on foreign policy. Joe Biden got very bad advice.
You've been through, you had 2 would-be assassins. You came within a millimeter of losing your life in this whole process. I know you kind of are somebody that compartmentalizes because I've known you so long, but do you ever think, and you said this in your inaugural, that you really believe God saved your life so that this was your destiny? Explain that.
Well, I do believe that. I've had people that really know a lot about guns. And they said that gun, that particular gun, in that beautiful field, as I called it, in Pennsylvania, which it is, Butler, that gun's a very accurate gun, and that a bad shooter would hit the target 100% of the time.
You can't miss.
Okay, from that distance. Yeah, from that distance. I mean, to me, I don't know as much about it. They said it's like for a golfer sinking a 1-foot putt from that distance. And my son Don and my son, both of them, Eric, they're great shooters. Both of them are great shooters. And they said it's amazing, it's a miracle. I think it affected them because they can't believe that happened. I turned. If I didn't turn, when the turn was like split-second perfect timing. So something happened, and I don't think you can call it just luck. The chance was like 1/8 of a second, or we wouldn't be sitting here. Think of it, in a volume of time, 1/8 of a second. I was in the right position.
Do you believe that moment, people say to me, they see a change in you. Do you believe you've changed? Is this, for example, increased your faith in God?
Yes, I think so. I don't think I've changed, but I think that has taken place, yeah. Because when you look at statistically, I should never be here. I mean, if I don't turn I'm looking at an immigration chart, my favorite chart ever in history.
Yeah.
Even if the numbers were bad, I would.
I mean, we're talking about assassination, and you're telling jokes.
No, can you
but
believe
it's terrible.
No,
I remember that day like
when I turned, and it had to be at an exactly 90-degree angle, and I said, throw down the chart or something to that effect, and they bring the chart, and I'm literally looking exactly at the right angle. I couldn't have even been a little further or a little bit less. It would have whacked, because it was an eighth of an inch. The entire ride was an eighth of an inch.
Will you investigate these assassination attempts? And you stated that you will release the files, all of the files, as it relates to the JFK assassination. And by the way, this is his desk.
Yeah, that's right.
This is where
That's
John
right.
Kennedy, little
That's
John
a
Kennedy.
Bro, he's
movable
been
door.
he's been
It's a little
lying
door
about
there.
this. He's been lying about this like 2016, 2017.
Parent, this was going to happen in the first
So many
term.
people have asked me to do that. And I did it with Kennedy to an extent.
Right.
But I was asked by some of our government officials not to. And, you have to respect them. I was actually asked by Mike Pompeo, as Secretary of State, not to. And I felt he knew something that maybe, when he asks you not to, you sort of say, why? And he felt that it was just not a good time to release him. And you might ask him why. Maybe he'll deny that even. But he did. He asked me. And some others also, though. They didn't want the Kennedy stuff released. And they're professionals, and I respect them. And they're working for me and the country. They're working for the country. And so I didn't release. But I'm going to release them immediately upon we're going to see the information. We're looking at it right now.
More Hannity from the White House as we continue.
Maya knows how quality care can bring out a smile.
Aren't you supposed to be in Japan? Soon. Tomorrow when I go live, which will be later than usual for obvious reasons, I will be live from Japan's. I should probably get packing though. I should get to packing. I'm not gonna be able to finish this Suckfest, but it doesn't seem like anything new is happening in this Suckfest anyway.